calling to Community Preservation Committee meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. on June 25th, 2025. Just a quick disclosure, pursuant to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2020, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and the June 30, 2027 extension granted by Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022. This meeting for the town of Bridgewater will be fully remote and accessible to the public through remote participation to the greatest extent possible. No in-person attendance is permitted. Citizens who wish to tune into the meeting may do so via Zoom. Okay, first on the agenda, item B is announcements. I don't have much, just that to remind people the 4th of July is coming up. 4th of July committee is still looking for donations to fund the event. As you know, it's not the event, the parade, fireworks, any of it is funded by the town, so it's all donations. So just a little notice for them. And from membership, as you probably aware, we have a spot for the housing authority. The member representative to CPC from the housing authority has not attended meetings for well over the 3 they're allowed to miss consecutive without a reason. So I asked Josh to remove that person officially from the committee. And I've written to the housing authority director the importance of reappointing someone quickly. That's it for me.
Gina,
Yep.
could I say something?
Sure.
I just welcome David Moore because he's replacing Jeff for the Historical Commission, and welcome to the committee, David.
Yes, well,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I got sworn in this afternoon.
That's good. That's good.
Thank you for the reminder, Colin.
Not to worry.
Yeah, it takes a village. It took a few of us to say he has to get sworn in today to get in touch with you. So we're glad you did. Okay, next public comment. Doesn't look like we have any public. So we'll move on to item D. Our agendas look so long, but most of it's updates, and we don't want to pull things off and lose track of them. So that's why it's so long. Minutes of May 28th, and I apologize for the length. I kind of got carried away when I was editing. But I guess more is better. But did everybody have a chance to read those? Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Can we have a motion to approve, accept?
So moved.
Second? Is that
Second, Harry.
Harry? Okay, good. Thanks, Harry. Discussion? Okay, Josh, roll call?
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Maureen,
yes,
David.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Great, thank you. Next item is E, review of financial reports. We have the latest we had was May 31st. I'll just say that we continue to be above the anticipated income. This showed quite an increase in the real estate surcharge since the last one. This thing is taxes were due May 1st, so a lot of people probably paid that day. Part of the reason we're so high over the estimated anticipated is that we work with the finance director on potential income. We don't, and we can't include interest on that or past lien payments, but we do tend to predict on the moderate side, just in case you never know what's going to happen. So we'd rather estimate in the middle than go high. Other than that, everything stays about the same. We paid for it's in book, and we'll talk more about that. But that has been paid. It was paid in June, so it's not reflected on this sheet. Any questions or comments on the budget sheet?
Gina, I just wanted to point out that we got an updated sheet for May late this afternoon, and I would request that Josh include that in the packet. So this one has a couple of corrections that needed to be made. And
Okay.
those were made this afternoon. So I would just ask that this be made available on the webpage.
Okay, good. I must have missed that when I looked. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to old business. For applications, we don't have any. B, eligibility forms received. Multifunctional fields at the middle school are approved. The application is pending. On that, we're still, I know we talked about the town or the property, the school leasing it, what we can do there. So Carlton has been in touch with Stuart Saginaw of the coalition, and Carlton, you can probably say a little more on that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation because that parcel is owned by the town of Bridgewater, and it's dedicated to education. And so the suggestion was that if we're going to go ahead and recommend whenever we get the application, and I understand it's close to being submitted again, but obviously not for this meeting. The suggestion from Stuart, and just a suggestion, was that we work with the town's attorney and the school district to get a memo of understanding that basically states that the school committee is okay with that area being developed for athletic fields. But in the future, should the town decide to expand the building, change that area, that the memo of understanding would include a clause that says any CPA funds spent to do the recreational portion of that would be paid back to the CPA coffers if in fact those appeals went away. We're basically protecting the public investment by doing that, the public investment in those fields. And if the town changes the whole piece without compensation, then basically that money we spend is being used for not in the future. So that's a future discussion that we have whenever an application comes in.
Great,
And
thank you.
if any questions, I can try to explain it better, but.
Okay, any questions for the multifunctional fields?
I did send some suggested language to include in the application to a couple of the proponents of that, and other things have really gotten basically in their way recently. So we'll see what happens.
Right. And in previous discussions, the town has said they're fine with it. The school has said that they're fine with it. But to cover all bases, we want it in writing. we won the letter of understanding memorandum. Okay, storage building at Legion Field. We returned the eligibility form for more information. They had asked, what they had sent was originally to replace the building. We asked them to compare, also give what it would cost to restore the building. I guess the building inspector has said it's not in the best shape, but we just wanted to be able to do our due diligence on that. David, are you familiar with that building? It's the Lazaro, the old equipment shed.
Yeah, and this is the brick building up close to the school.
No, that's the field house. It's between. It's if you're going into the parking lot and
Yeah,
the Hayes Field is right there. It's between the Hayes Field and what we used to call the Babe Ruth Field, the big field.
yeah. No, I've never had anything to do with that building. 20 years I was building inspector. Only I did some inspections on the snack bar
Okay.
that they added. That was about it.
Okay, yeah, this building goes back to, oh, my brother remembers going to the field and by the building when he was a kid. Not that he's old,
Yeah.
but that's how long ago he remembers it. Okay, so we're just waiting for more information on that. First Parish Unitarian Church window replacement. At the last meeting, we asked that it be returned for more information. The main one was to send exactly what they wanted done with the type of glass and things to the Historic District Commission, who holds the CR for that. And I know that the church has submitted it to the HDC. They're just waiting for an HDC meeting. Cedar Street Community Center, if you remember from our last meeting, we returned it for more information. Exactly the eligibility form we got wasn't very specific what they wanted to do. And
I can add to that.
ahead.
If I could, I can add to that. Talked with the proponent, and basically, like everybody is very busy right now, and so they haven't updated their application eligibility form, but he said they're going to try to get it done for the next meeting.
Good, thank you. Anything else on that? I think one of the main things for that is the structural part of it with the back wall that has the
Yeah,
water.
it's primarily for the basement. The basement has water leak problem. The foundation needs to be restored and shored up. Not support wise, but that water intrusion needs to be fixed. And then they also want to make a new entrance into the basement for accessibility, for handicap accessibility. So those are the two elements that I've talked to him about. Anything else, I'm not sure what he's thinking of for us.
Okay, and David, I think we had asked them to reach out to you for the historical commission for a letter of support.
Yes, they did. And my commission didn't have a quorum last night, so we haven't gotten the letter, but we will get to it as soon as I get a committee meeting.
Okay, great. 'Tis the season for not making quorums. Project updates, Hanson Farm, the CR, as you can see from the minutes, the CR was signed and accepted. Signs have been ordered. Carlton, anything to add on that, or?
Yeah, we
Maureen,
did a
as
lot of
far
work.
as the open
The
space
signage,
part?
and we did a lot of work. I'm sorry, I talked over you.
No, that's okay.
We did a lot of work on the signs. We thought we could afford 3 signs, but we can only do 2. One will be placed to the left of the barn door. There's a little grassy area that looks to be clear. So that's the suggested place there. That will be basically the conservation sign that says everything's here, who paid for it, that kind of thing. We passed the design past several people, and that was acceptable. The second sign will be going on one of the trails. There's actually two legs to the trail, two different trailhead possibilities. And we were going to put one sign at each of the heads, but we only have one now, so we're going to have to adjust for that. But that sign will look a little bit more like the, it'll be the same kind of shape as the one we've shown before for the Middleborough sign. But that one will include a concept map and the farm outline, that kind of thing, so that people have the trail knowledge where it might be going. The other thing that will be there, that included in there, will be like rules of the road. Basically, it's an active farm. You don't walk on the fields. No, leash your dogs, pick up after your dog, that kind of stuff. So that's in work, and hopefully they'll get delivered shortly. And since we have to have the invoices done before July 1st, I think there's, Josh can speak to it better than I can, but I understand that there's a way to make sure the payments are gone forward, so our match isn't counted towards the, what am I trying to say? Counted towards the match.
A match.
Yeah, and so the other thing that's good news, the deed, I don't know what I did with my paperwork. The deed has been filed with the, so that's all in place. And the signage is the other one. I got to look at my notes. Yeah, and I've been working on a materials list because one of the things we put in the, that was in the appropriation was materials for bridges to cross wetlands and that kind of thing. We don't know exactly where it goes, but I reached out to the surveyor with the Hanson's permission to get, and he'll get back to me sometime this week, to actually give me the distance across various wetlands and whether it needs a bridge or a bog bridge, that kind of stuff. So once we have that, then we can, next fiscal year, we can, this will carry over. Next fiscal year, we can actually take a look at that and see what the costs might be and move forward on that part. I think that's everything I remember. I had a table here I wanted to look at. Oh, the other good news is the deed filing. We had put $1,500 in the appropriation recommendation, and it only cost about $300 to do the deed filing. So, and we're just a like $100 short of meeting the match. And I think in a conversation with the town manager, she indicated that she had some ideas how they could get that $100 made up. It may be in kind services from the town, that kind of thing. So we're in good shape there, and hopefully everything will be closed out soon.
Good.
And
I like
I'll
that.
add one more thing. For those people that don't like a lot of housing, this basically indicates that the farmland will be conserved in open space forever, unless somebody wants to fight it in some way. But it's preserved.
Good. Glad to hear it. Thank you. Maureen, do you have any updates on it for as far as open space?
No, we did not have a meeting, didn't have a quorum. And so, no, it'd have to go directly to Eileen and see if she had something, but it's nothing I've heard of anyhow.
Okay, good. Thank you. And one of the things Carlton mentioned was that we can funds carried over for the project, for the boards, for the bridges, the bog boards. CPC had voted, the town approved just over 32,000. We only needed, as far as the match, we only needed 30,000. So, and as he said, we're just about up to that 30,000. So because it's in a project account, the remaining 2,000 plus can be carried over without affecting the grant. Okay, Stiles and Hart improvements. we're the same places we were before. I've written again to the engineer, Pat Brennan, for the update that he had told Houghton and I when we met with him, that he would send along what needs to be done, if it needs to be rebid. Since the bid, we don't know who closed it, but the bid was closed. And so I would like to know that. So we have no information for that. The sign, the grant wasn't, the land grant that was for up to half of what we spent wouldn't, and we spent in basically enough for to get the grant. Part of it, the reason it was held up was because of the signage, and we found out last week, unbeknownst to us, because there are people that were working on the wording of the sign, that the town ordered the sign. It doesn't mention CPA funding, which is required when CPA funds something. So we're working on that, trying to figure out the best way to deal with that. The sign.
Dina?
Yep, David.
Do you know, in the putting the signs together, do you know if there are going to be any pictures of the fairgrounds included on those signs?
Not on the big one. I would love to see, and I see this at trails and parklands that we walk at all the time. I would love to see a signs like that spread out throughout, you know, a big one right at the entrance at Tittaket, I think, in their kiosk, there's a little history of Tittaket. I've seen it over at the trails behind the East Bridgewater Senior Center. There's a big thing explaining about Massasoit. I would love to see stuff like that in different areas, like by the pond, that it was a dredge pond, but it was. I would love to see things like that.
Well, if the opportunity comes up that we can put something on that sign, I have 4 or 5 really nice pictures, and I can provide some dialogue on it, because I think the northernmost entrance to the park, it would be really neat to mention that was probably the second turn of the half-mile racetrack that was there, and I've got a really nice picture looking towards the grandstand. And it would be, if you're standing at the sign looking into the woods, that's what you would have seen 125 years ago. Beautiful picture. So
and because the bid for the work came in less than what we voted and what the council approved, I would say that we could buy signs like that with the money. We can get signs if it's part of a project. If it's just to put up signs someplace, we can't.
okay.
This would be part of the project, in my opinion. And I would love to see something like that. Or even throughout, when you get down to by the southern entrance, if you walk straight down to the river and the sewer plants across the way, just to, I know there's a lot of bricks there, fragments of bricks. Even, you know, there's some, I know there's history to the whole thing, but I would like to see signs there for the old kiln. You know, a sign for that.
I don't have any pictures of the Carlton. You got something?
Yeah, I'm going to make a suggestion, David. Maybe the Historical Commission or you personally could send a letter to the town manager and I think it's the CED department, and make a suggestion, because I remember the conversations that, in fact, that kind of historic signage would be in place. I've looked at the design plan and I haven't seen a place where other signage is in there. So I think your idea is most excellent, but I think we need to put a little bit more oomph behind it. And maybe if you would write a letter and say, ask the question and say, we need, you have this history and we need that part of it, because I thought it was gonna be. So I'm gonna ask you to do that.
Okay. I'll do that and CC the commission as to what I'm doing. I would assume they'd be frames, the signs would be framed in smaller structures such as exist at other places in the park. The entrance is 4x4s, treated lumber and so forth. I'll put the pictures together, and I'll ship that letter over as soon as possible. Hopefully
Great.
the new manager, it'll catch his eye as he's sorting through the undone business.
Great, great.
David, and if you could just CC me too, that way I can do
Sure.
follow-up for you guys.
Okay, great.
Great. Yeah, there's a place in, I can't think of the name of the trail offhand. I want to say it's Hanover, but I'm not positive. As you walk, it actually hits you can see part of the old railroad trails. Then further, it has a little pond where they used to, little inlet, but it's kind of, I don't know, separated from the rest of the pond. And it gives a history of that. So as you walk the different spots, it gives history too. So it'd be great to walk with you someday to see the different parts of the trail that might have historical.
Yeah,
One of
I
the-
don't think I've ever seen a drawing of what the brickyard looked like because it only ran for such a short time. It's kind of, well, I want to stay positive on it, but it's kind of the majority of the beauty of the site is the fairgrounds, and Stiles and Hart had such a small part to do with it, other than destroying the property with their mining operation. But they should they should be recognized because they made it available to the town and so forth. But I'll see what I can put together with some nice pictures for the display, and we'll get a letter together and get it off to Josh and the commission to see if we can get something going on that, the historical part of the property.
If I could just add one more piece. Part of the projects that's not complete is the southern entrance where the sewer, the gate is there.
Yeah.
That southern entrance is also supposed to be a handicapped accessible pathway trail, and that trail is supposed to go south, I think it is south, to the river along the old rail bed where they took bricks out of the Stiles and Hart property. And so that's another place for a sign that would talk about the importance of that railroad track going out. And
Yeah.
that plan overall calls for a picnic area right next to the river, and that's straight across from the Town River Landing parcel.
Has the lawsuit been settled, or has any further action been taken on that?
No idea.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was an actual lawsuit. I knew that it was back and forth. I'm not sure if they actually filed suit or not.
Well-
They-
And I know they're at an impasse on the payment for the property, and I believe part of the sewer easement goes across their property.
Oh, they're talking about the little parcel that's sewer line goes.
Yeah.
Let's not get
The
into
little-
that.
Yeah, the little isolated site of the exhibition hall.
Right.
So,
Right.
okay,
Okay, we've asked the town manager to, I don't know if she's including it in her stuff for documenting for the new town manager, but we've asked a few times to have that part, and the engineer too had suggested it, to have that actually surveyed. One of the reasons is for that piece, but also for the kiln and the remains of a brick wall, to have that, to see which property it's actually on. If it's on a residence property or if it's on town property.
yeah,
We're not sure on that. Another thing to do with signs, I would like to see, and maybe somebody from conservation, if somebody's up on their plants and things, a lot of trails I walk, they have, if it's an unusual tree or an unusual something, they have a sign saying what it is. Something like that to make it a more interesting. Anything else on Styles and Hart? Okay, moving on to Hemlock Drive window replacements.
Very quickly, I received an email today. I asked what was going on. The note that came from the project manager, windows were received this morning and reviewed. The crew is completing the mock-up window today for review and the finish trim. They will not start next week. They anticipate starting to do the actual work in about 10 days. So early, let's see, the week of July 7th is probably when they would start. There's some kind of mandatory delay because of DEP and asbestos, and they have to wait that day out to make sure they in the clear. So they're moving forward, and hopefully this soon we'll start to see construction.
Good. The Parthenon freeze. No
Oh,
update.
I've got some interesting stuff there. If the members that have been here for a while, remember we had agreed to use admin money to order some plaques that would recognize the CPA when CPA funds were used for the memorial building, the townhouse, the library, HDA system, that kind of thing. So I've been very remiss not getting them out. So I took 4 plaques down, worked with Chris Hartman to figure out to deliver them and ask him to put them up when he gets time. So in that discussion, we're talking about the freeze. Yeah. In that discussion, he said, and we know that there's a plan in place and there's a contractor ready to do the work, but they needed some exact dimensions on the freeze themselves so that they would know where to put the structural supports. And I think that's going forward. So I'm hoping that this summer it will happen in the plan. So he's got all the stuff that we provided him. So that's where that's at. And hopefully with the new town manager coming in, we can actually get that done this summer. But in that conversation of the plaque locations, we talked about the freeze, what I just talked about. He also mentioned that the library, they're looking to put some kind of temporary aesthetic improvement for the library pillars because they're looking so bad. It looks like nobody cares. So they're looking into something that would make that look acceptable, not permanent, but something that would make it look better. The other thing that I learned is, remember we talked in the past a little bit about the archive room in the basement of the memorial building had a water leak. Well, he actually did work to take care of that, and he showed me what he had done. He'd done some work in the back corner behind to move water away from the building so it wouldn't be leaking in there. So that's really good that the archive room is now getting some additional work, and he has some other ideas to further improve that. And there's a dehumidifier in that room so that water, and it runs constantly, he said, so that moisture's low in that area, that room. The reason I'm concerned about is those freeze have plaster, and plaster doesn't like water. So, and they're cased up. So if you get a lot of moisture, that could be damaging them a little bit. So that's why I want this to get moved forward more quickly. That's a bit of a sidebar, but I just wanted to update you when I did this.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Colin,
Yes, sir.
Gina?
Yep, go ahead,
Question
Dave.
for Colin. The mini splits or the heat pumps that were put in, don't they have a dehumidifying cycle?
No idea. There's six
Okay.
or seven of those back there. I don't know if they have a dehumidifier, and I don't know if there's a dedicated one to that area. I just don't know. That's a good question
Yeah.
for people that know things that I don't.
Yeah, I have those installed at my place down in Wareham, and they do a great job of sucking humidity out of the area, and the town could probably save a tremendous amount of money if they were using them to dehumidify as opposed to having a dehumidifier running. I suppose we talked to Chris about that.
I think that, and since it's a historical building and you probably have more knowledge about that building than I do, you know, it's just another place maybe to check in on it. for
Well-
the Historic District.
Yeah,
I mean, the Historic Commission, I get them up, right? But,
Mhm.
thank you.
Good suggestion. Okay. Moving on, Samuel Edson book. The book itself has been paid for. The seller has received the check. The restoration and digitization is in process, and I believe they expect before September to have that set. Carlton, anything to add?
Nope, that's where we're at. It's being restored and it's been paid for, and the budgets will reflect that in the June report, finance report.
Great. Next is the Townhouse Interior Historical Architect Assessment. That's a mouthful.
My turn
It-
again?
Yeah, say it 5 times quick. I can't say it 1 time quick.
Yeah.
We had voted for, I want to say 20,000. I can't remember the exact amount. And we had thought the town manager wasn't keen on putting out the bid for it this fiscal year. And we were under the assumption that where we voted to have the funds taken from fiscal 25, that we could roll them over and use them in fiscal 26. We found out that we can't do that. Laurie, finance director, has had conversations with the DOR, and because it was voted for administrative funds, we can't encumber it. We haven't the past encumbered things like that, but we can't do it.
Yeah, I think
So-
DOR has, just to add, I think DOR, Department of Revenue has indicated that's not allowable to carry it
Right.
over.
So we'll just have to, once the new budget's set, we'll just have to rescind this vote and revote it for fiscal 26.
Could I add some more?
Sure.
So I had reached out to Joe Booth, who was the historic architect that had worked on the Academy building, and his firm had done a lot of work on the townhouse work that CPA paid in part. And I'd reached out to him to find out, what might it cost to do the interior assessment. Well, long story short is basically this whole thing was going forward, and he offered in one of our communications, he offered that he could send us a quote for doing the assessment, and lo and behold, he sent it into the town. So we have a quote from a historic architect that's very familiar with the building, and it's well under 20,000. So that is in place, and Joe has said it in writing that, yeah, he's happy to wait until we get things settled down in the next fiscal year. But because the cost is over 10K, I'm not sure if it has to be bid or not. That's a question for the new town manager.
Right. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else on any of those in process projects? Okay, moving on to project updates for completed projects. The first one, number 1, Broad Street Properties. It's pending the CR filing. And Wildlands Trust, who holds the current CR for the park, is combining the two into a CR, and they've said that the state is way behind in dealing with conservation restrictions. Other than that, the final report, we're just waiting for the page and book number for the CR filing. But what I would like to do tonight, there's a balance of 36,400 left for that project. Everything has been paid for the project. So even though we usually don't close out the account until we accept the final report, But since all we're waiting for the final report is just the CR information, and it is the last month of the fiscal year to clean up our books, I would like to see a motion to close out the account and send to the finance director a request to officially close it out. Any thoughts on that? Anyone?
No, I think it sounds like a great idea.
Yep, okay. Carlton, thoughts on that?
Same thing. I think it's been there for so long. We need to get this money back into the reserve account that was drawn from. So I would move to close account. Oh, I can yeah, account
It is.
581-581-002. Close that account and return and have the town finance department return the monies to the accounts from which drawn. And we will do the final report once we get the deed update.
Okay, good. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Harry.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Okay, discussion? Okay, hearing none. Josh, roll call.
Gina,
Yes,
Carlton,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes,
Maureen,
Yes,
David.
Yes,
Thank you. The motion was approved.
okay, great, thank you. And the ones on the report, the financial report that shows zero balance, zero available, those will automatically drop from the report at the end of the fiscal year. It's just the ones that have a balance that we have to instruct them to manually close. Summer Street Park, the mobile station, that's still really no update. It's still pending the CR file, and ultimately the final report. I don't know. It's really not up to CPC, but just an update. I don't know if the final project design has been decided upon. I went to some of us went to the open house, Vision to Reality open house last week. There are a few drawings up there. I'm not sure if any have been selected. Anything else on that from David?
I had intended to go to that meeting, but I forgot about it. So I have looked at the plans that are on display in the Academy building.
Mhm.
And I think it's a very attractive plan. It's nice, but my question is parking. Where are the residents of Bridgewater who wish to visit or frequent or whatever? There's a little amphitheater that they've proposed. It will certainly seat more people than would fit in the 5 or 6 parking spaces. I don't know how you would meet the parking requirements because it's such a tight site, and there are no neighboring spots other than the businessmen in the area, and certainly CVS doesn't want their parking lot filled, or Agave, the college maybe after hours, but it's still quite a walk and a dangerous cross through that busy intersection. I was going to ask that question at the meeting. I see it as a real serious concern, and I think they should have more parking on site as opposed to that grassy area in front of the building.
David, that's been my question and concern from day one with the whole
Yeah.
project. I keep being told that there's 2 handicap spots there, and everybody else can walk from the town parking lot. My question at that meeting last week was, a mother gets out with 2 or 3 kids. She's expected to walk from the other parking lot. I have a friend there who has a handicap sticker, and she said there's no way that two handicap spaces would be enough. another drawing. That's the one that was like the actual drawing, but one that looks like it was in color. It had the grassy areas and everything.
Yeah,
That one I think had 6 spaces, which I don't think it's
Yeah.
still enough, but it's better than just 2 handicap. But that's been my concern from day one. To
Yeah.
expect the people to walk. Carlton,
I'll add a couple things, because I'm a member of the Bridgewater Improvement Association, and I think I've said this before, but because I'm a member, we are also looking to improve the Flora T. Little Park and put a pathway that's accessible into that. And so we've been having conversations. The university is very much engaged. They're have indicated they have significant money towards the Summer Street Park. But in conversations with the university, we were told that one of the, and I think Rulli said this at one point, Mr. Rulli said this at one point, the town is applying for a complete street type grant that would redo, provide better sidewalks, better accessibility, and change that intersection that's there at that park. They would do a study and then potentially from the central square all the way down to the railroad station. They would be looking to upgrade that whole area to include a complete reconfiguration of the Summer Street intersection where you turn, you're coming, I guess it's east on Summer Street, and then you go along the cemetery is on your right-hand side. You go around that light, you go left, then the cemetery stays on your right. They're talking about redoing that intersection so it doesn't have these splits that go like this, but instead it would be a T intersection. They're talking about changing the crosswalks a little bit. They're also very much talking about the walkability element of the downtown. So I don't think it's intended to attract, the way it's presented, it looks like it is. I don't think it's intended to attract huge crowds, but the conversations I've had is the thought would be that people would be able to park in the town parking lot. Bathrooms would be there, and that building will have to be upgraded to have accessible bathroom also. So that's part of the plan. And there is water, electricity there. So I haven't seen any real design plans. I've looked at the grant that was submitted and has 2 elements that I'm a little bit concerned about. The final plan with including permits would be drawn before the 1st of July. That would be all done. So I haven't seen that level of detail. And the other one is that the Parks and Rec Commission would vote by majority vote, that they would vote to approve that design. And Gina can talk to it more, but I don't believe the Parks and Rec, they tried to do it, but there was not a quorum, so it hasn't been happened. I thought that was a condition of getting the design money. I could be wrong. The third element is the CPA deed restriction is called out in that grant agreement, that the CPA grant agreement has to be in place. The deed restriction, I'm sorry, I don't mean grant agreement. The deed restriction has to be in place by this summer of 25.
Carlton,
That's what I give to you. That's all.
okay, is it a CR or a deed restriction?
It's a whatever, we acquired it as open space. The town acquired the building. That's how the money got. So open space requires a conservation restriction.
Okay, okay, that's what I thought, but just wanted to make sure I had it right here.
But that's a legal question to ask somebody that knows more about those kinds of deeds. But it has to be, regardless, it has to be filed with the registry of deeds.
Correct. And as far as I know, as Colin said, Parks and Rec didn't have a quorum for their meeting on June 9th. The town manager and Mr. Rulick were scheduled for the meeting. They did still meet. Parks and Rec kids, we had a member volunteer to meet with them just to hear what they had to say. We didn't have quorum. I guess they did present the 3 separate plans that are on display in the Academy building now. But again, Parks and Rec didn't have a quorum. From what I understand, they had said they talked, the couple that went to that meeting to meet with the town manager were told it would be one of those plans. And plus, we didn't have Parks and Rec. When I say we, at this point, I have on my Parks and Rec hat. We didn't have quorum, so therefore we couldn't vote to accept the plan. So that's pending, and whether that has to be done by June 30th is a good question too. I think that's in the hands of the town manager, Mr. Ulick, at this point. David, did you have something? Did you have your hand up for that?
No, I'm just very apprehensive about the whole project. I think it could turn out to be a very beautiful thing, provided it's accessible and to make it an area where people are gonna be walking. You've got a lot of busy streets right there, and you got hills and crosswalks and everything, and it's a tough spot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree. I just wish there was more parking,
Yeah,
but okay, moving on. The rebinding of the death records book. We're just waiting for the final report, and I think Josh has that just about complete, right, Josh?
Yeah, so I think we just need to, I think we
Signatures.
talked about, making a couple edits to the final reports.
Mhm.
We were gonna include, like a reference to, the goals that it accomplished, so we're just
Right.
gonna take a look at that.
Okay, good. That's that one. Potential new projects. Some of these have been on here for a bit and
Yeah.
they're still,
Point of order,
Chuck,
the townhouse has $9,775 left in that account. Did we vote to close that account?
we did, and I'm gonna follow up with the finance department that it is closed, that it will
Thank
be
you.
closed.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, we accepted that report and voted to close it out.
Thank you.
Okay. Josh, can you do me a favor? Can you just look and see which pot of money the townhouse and the Broad Street properties came from?
Townhouse, I'm sorry, what was that?
The townhouse and the Broad Street properties. I know I have the townhouse documented when I to write to Laurie. But I just want to make sure when I say to the pot that it came from, I can reference which it came from, so they don't need to look it up.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Jenny Leonard Park. That's still Parks and Rec is holding off on doing anything to that until the piece of property behind that's being gifted by Oldfield Estates is accepted from the town. As we said before, it adds a huge parcel to the park. So it makes no sense to come up with trails for the park if the other parcel is going to be accepted. So Parks and Rec, it's still with them. And hopefully with the new town manager, something can be done to accept that parcel. Basketball courts for Legion and Scotland Fields. No pun intended, but it's a Parks and Recs court. They just have to come up with prices and which ones to do, or both. Next, study of recreational land options for Legion of Scotland Fields. That was put in to see if the fields are being used to the best capacity for the fields. And I actually just saw today when I was moving some stuff at home, and I didn't get to check the date. I just saw the book as I was doing something else. There was a recreational study a number of years ago. So they can maybe draw on that instead of a new one. If anybody has anything to ad for these, jump right in. Restoration of the fire departments of San Quinn.
Gina, I was waiting, Gina, I was waiting for other people. The open space plan, I think we were briefed that in fact, the town has gotten a grant to do the open space plan. I think that study needs to be put on their shoulders to do. That would be very helpful. I don't know if they can do active recreation, but I know we looked at passive recreation then, but if we can, I'd like that open space plan to address that, but I could be
Okay.
wrong. And Maureen, maybe you know more than I do.
No, I don't really.
Thank you.
I'm still getting all this through my head, so I really
Mhm.
don't.
Yeah, I don't think, and I'm not positive, I don't think open space deals with active recreation.
Okay.
No, it's supposed to be, I think it's passive recreation.
Right. And
So, preserve water and that sort of thing, yeah.
this here, the study of the recreational land auction is more for active recreation. Like example, Scotland Field, there's a field in front. There used to be a field in back that was for softball. I think lately it's been used for football and lacrosse, but you can probably fit 2 fields back there. So it's more like that to make sure the land is used to what it can fit onto it. And I will look up like I said, the study that I just saw today from years ago. Another thing, or I'll add it for new business, we'll skip that. Restoration of the fire departments or San Quinn hand pump truck. I had been dealing with former Chief McDermott on it, and I haven't heard anything recently. They were going to be checking the cost to ship it to, I believe it was Pennsylvania, which was the company that would restore it. But I haven't heard back to see if they're still interested in that. So I'll follow up again with him. Playground accessibility, David Firm from the Disabilities Commission came to our meeting last month. I think Carlton, you went to their meeting yesterday.
Yeah, he mentioned it, that he wanted to talk with us and he still would like to have a discussion with us. So maybe in the next agenda, we can do it. But
Okay.
because they were curious about what we could pay for, et cetera, I put together a PowerPoint, like 10 or 15, 20 slides. And it was recorded. So if people want to see it, it's go to the Disability Commission YouTube location. Basically, their interest is in not just the Marathon Park for accessibility, but so I presented what we could do, and they were very appreciative of that. But in the conversations that David wants to give to us, a couple of items came up. The Marathon Park has some very worn out accessibility and minimum accessibility apparatus. So they're thinking about that, and he's got some rough prices for that. And then the other thing is the ground is that wood chips, that type thing, and that's very challenging potentially for kids with accessibility issues, and also for grandparents that come there. It's tripping issues, that kind of thing. So they're also looking at some kind of proper, and there is a proper material to put down for accessibility. I know my son's program, they deal with all levels of disability, and they have a playground that has a soft cushion type surface. So that's the things he talked to us about. And I think to respect his request at next meeting, I've encouraged them to look at the eligibility form, but I think that potentially he may want to talk a bit more about what's eligible before they do that. Anyway, so that's the update on that one. So it's coming.
Good. For cemetery repair of gravestones,
That's my turn again.
Carlton's been researching the dead.
I don't know how to follow that up. I
Your
talked
final
about,
resting
I
place.
talked about the redo of this, the old mobile station, the 402 Little Park, and that intersection. And the reason there's lots of things being thought about is the university and why they're putting money into that park. The university wants to improve the appearance of the front door or the entrance to the university. Street upgrade, the new park upgrade, those kinds of things. But then I started thinking about it and I said, well, the first cemetery is, well, it's pretty well kept up, but it could use a little tender loving care. And so I began to explore the cost of doing an assessment of all this memorial or gravestones that are there and what it might cost us to do that accessibility. So not to get into the weeds yet, but I've reached out to 3 or 4 companies that do that kind of thing. I've been getting some budgeting questions, prices, excuse me, for potential accessibility, a potential restoration study. And I've gotten some project descriptions from a couple of them. Very interesting what that could include. So that's just a thought going forward now, and we'll see where we go with that in the next fiscal year. It's very clear the cost would not be supported by the admin account. So it would have to be a project that goes is recommended to the town council. They've got their hands full right now, so I think getting this in place sometime for the September, late August or early September meetings would be my goal. But I don't know what folks think about that kind of thing, but we've got 13 historic cemeteries in town. Some are in better shape, I think, than others. And so the question becomes, do we just do one or do we do 2? There's a lot of questions we need to discuss.
My thought is we should do as many as we can. Maybe have a consultant or someone look and see which of the, maybe not hit them all at once, but maybe take a look and see which are the worst. I think the first cemetery is definitely one because it's right out in the public. Not saying the others are any less important. But at some point, get to all the cemeteries. It wasn't in, I recall back, it wasn't this 5-year plan or public hearing. I think it was, I don't even think it was the last 5-year plan, but it was one of the annual public hearing, maybe 2 years ago. And one of the things that came up by a number of people was the old cemeteries and fixing them up, fixing the stones that are knocked over. So it was a concern for some people that had gone to or attended a public hearing. And I believe it was mentioned in this year's 5-year plan. So I think it's something that we should look at. I think it's a shame to look at some of these cemeteries, the condition they're in. I go by the one on, I think it's River Street. It's either still South Street or River Street in West Bridgewater, and they did theirs, and the stones look gorgeous.
They also did the Cochise one.
Right.
So I had reached out to West Bridgewater and try to figure out who they used and that kind of thing and costs, et cetera. They have a phased approach. Right now, I think they're approaching phase 3. So what they did is probably had more of theirs evaluated. And then they're working through a phase set to get them all done, or most of them done. But anyway, I just wanted to get people sensitized to that possibility. And I think maybe in the next meeting, we put a discussion point of exactly that. How many, again, it's going to depend on cost, but how many of the old cemeteries need some immediate attention, some that may be long-term attention, that kind of thing. So thank you.
A little history on the signage. I believe it was when my dad was chair in the Historical Commission. They had, I think they got a grant from the Lottery Arts Council to place the signs on the cemeteries. They were done at BP, the original signs, and I think they were they were resurfaced again. Now, those signs have been up for 40 years, and they're starting to get a lot of lichen growth on them, but for the most part, the wood is still in very good condition. So I realize that that's not something that the CPC could get involved in maintenance of signage, but there may be other sources through Bristol Plymouth or somewhere to get it, at the very least, get the signs fixed. That would add a lot to the signs, because that would add a lot to the cemeteries, because they're looking pretty ratty right now. It's been, well, it's been, I bet you it's been 30 years since they were last done.
Wow. Yeah, I think that would help. Signage is a good part, big part of things.
Would that be a Boy Eagle Scout project? Because they
It
have to
could
write up
be,
that kind of stuff.
could
Mhm.
very easily be a good Eagle Scout project.
Yep.
Is there a clearinghouse for Eagle Scout projects in
I do
Bridgewater?
have to talk to the Scoutmaster. I was involved with one this winter that
Yeah.
had to do with veterans. I think you were too, David.
Yeah,
And so I think that contact person is the top Scoutmaster.
yeah, and I think there's 2 or 3 troops in Bridgewater, so we'd have to reach out to all of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just a thought.
Someone that might be good to reach out to is Kate Anderson. Her family does a lot with the Scouts. Her kids, I think both of her kids were Eagle Scouts, and they still do a lot with them with the Eagle Scout projects. So I'll mention it to Kate too. Okay, good. One thing that I think I inadvertently left off, and I apologize off of this list, was, David, you talked last month about the Titicate Foundry.
Yes,
Right.
I had a lot of phone tag with the gentleman. He did come out, but between my schedule and his schedule, we never met face to face. We had many conversations. He did get out to the sites, and he's hoping that his book will be finalized the end of the summer. I would still like to put that plaque together for the site and have it dedicated approximately the same time that the Colonial Committee on Safety declared that the state foundry at Titicate, and I believe that's in March or April. So I've talked with Sign Design in Brockton. They've come up with a proposal, not money wise, but as far as what the sign would look like. And I just want to get the exact wording on it. So it's still something that the Historical Commission is considering.
Okay. And as we said before, just to put a sign somewhere, I don't believe community preservation can pay for it if it's part of a
Right.
project. I'm not sure if anything can be done there to make it into a project site instead of just a plaque. It's something to look into.
Okay.
Okay, any other thing? Oh, okay. Sorry, I surprised myself with that one. Any other potential new projects? We covered discussion of those. New business, I saw today that the planning board has approved, they didn't approve the development on East Street. I guess it was approved years ago. But the planning board has put a stipulation on it that parts of this land goes up to, I forget how many acres it was, but it goes along the river. And the planning board has said that all the land along the river has to be given to the town. It's open space. And that's something more that you can just let Eileen know. But they're looking to have, part of the stipulation is that it's done after like 2 or 3 of the houses are built before the rest are built. That this whole thing goes through. The developers have been instructed to talk to Wildlands Trust. about that land. To conserve it. But they want it done partway through the project and not have it be like Oldfield Estates that here we are years later and the land still isn't accepted by the town. So that may be something that it's not even close to like deciding on that for conservation land, but it's something that may come to us at some point in the future. Or it might be like Norfolk, that Wildlands Trust did, and they did it all themselves without coming for CPC funds. So just a thought. I just saw that today. That I think is good. Okay, any other new business? Okay, committee liaison reports. Harry, Concom, we'll go in reverse order today.
We have our meeting tomorrow night and it's only a very small agenda. But we'll probably be there half an hour. There's nothing real special on it anyway.
Okay. Good. Okay, let's see, Maureen,
No, we did not meet. Quorum is an issue. We've lost a couple of members this year. So we have to, Eileen has been talking to a few new people to see if they'll come on board and join our little group.
okay, and just make sure if, when somebody's decided upon, that it gets sent to Josh and he gets them out. I think they'd have to be appointed,
Yes,
and,
yes.
and then Josh sends out his stuff to make sure they do all the required.
Yes.
Okay, David, anything for historical?
Historical, there would have been a discussion about the official closing of Perkins Foundry. They have closed. I had the pleasure of being there for their last pour
Oh,
2 weeks ago. The business has been sold to a firm in Pawtucket. And now the Perkins family is in the process of cleaning out the buildings before they can turn it over to a developer. There's rumors that a new that the developer is marketing the property. He may not be doing it. So it's wide open as to what's going to happen down there. I don't
okay,
believe
so
what.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I don't believe they've gotten the official commitment from Water and Sewer to provide utilities for it, but people are spending an awful lot of money with optimism. On the water and sewer issue, I did go to a Old Colony Planning Council meeting on water servicing Bridgewater's water needs, and they were very clear that with the governor's push for additional housing, water restrictions cannot prevent housing in Bridgewater, even though we don't have it. Because Bridgewater has the option of purchasing Brockton water. It's available. And some of the councils have steadfastly said, no, we're not going to do it. But if the demand is there, and it's really crazy, you go to a council meeting and you got Mr. Ruley saying, yep, we're going to do housing. Yep, we're going to do it. And sitting right next to him is Jonas, the water superintendent, and he's just shaking his head.
Yeah.
No, the water isn't available. I was surprised to see the water ban lifted a couple days ago, but we haven't had any rain since. So I don't know how long it's going to last. And I would anticipate, like many people, that we're looking at a very hot, dry summer.
Right, and the thing that came out Monday maybe from the town, why people had the rusty water for the manganese, I think because the well went so low this weekend and they lifted the water ban at the same time.
Yeah, it's crazy
Those
setup.
Those wells
Yep.
are offline now.
What was that, Carlton?
Those wells are offline right now.
Right, right. So David, you said that the developers are marketing the property. Didn't they
There's a
have a
rumor
set
floating-
plan approved by the planning board?
Yes, the plan for the development has been approved and, I don't know, it's 150 or 160 apartments. But I'm very familiar with the plant and just the environmental cleanup is not a big problem, because the materials that have been used down there over the last 150 years have not been heavily toxic materials. They've had tremendous, numerous 21E reports done on, and chemically wise, it's pretty clean. But physically, the amount of concrete and steel that's in those buildings that they've got to take out of there is huge.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know how the numbers work on a project like that, but it's got to be in the millions to clean that site, to demolish those buildings. Because I worked there in the 70s and I saw the steel that went into the concrete foundations for the new melt room in the back. And you've got walls 2 feet thick, floors 3 feet thick, reinforced concrete. It's phenomenal. So just gotta wait and see.
Mhm. Okay. I guess it's just me. Parks and Rec is, we have a few projects on hold, a few that are like potential new projects, a few that two for eligibility forms that have been returned. And again, we didn't have quorum last month. So, and we have a lot on our agenda. Main one is pickleball. I would love to see more hours for our Park Stewart. But that was in the, it looks like that's not going to happen, but he's very dedicated. John Hart is excellent. Everything else, we're waiting for the next meeting when hopefully we'll have a quorum. Okay, anything else for committee reports or questions, comments? Okay, next item, upcoming events is basically the 4th of July. The parade, the arts festival, the fireworks are all well attended. And again, they're still looking for donations. I think tomorrow at the Greyhound Tavern, it's a dine for a cause, so they'll give so much back to the 4th of July committee. And I think it's Friday at the Black Hat is doing the same thing, the Black Hat Brewery. And they're looking for help for cleanup on July 5th, the morning of July 5th. In the past, they've had the prisoners do it, but they've been told that they can't do it this year. We have no public comments. We have no public. I think everybody's at the other meeting tonight. Next meeting date is July 23rd. If, as always, if you find you can't make the meeting and you know ahead of time, make sure to let Josh know. And if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Maureen. Discussion? There's never discussion to adjourn. Josh, roll call.
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Harry,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting's adjourned.
It was
Thank you.
adjourned at 7:49. Thank you, everybody. Stay cool.
Yep.
Okay.